the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, somebody who's a queen in the kitchen. She is Mallory Gott, or Mal, co-owner and CEO of Winnie and Ethel's Downtime Diner. If you haven't been to this diner, please go because the food is delicious. We're thrilled to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will say, on top of thank you for having me, I want to start off by making an immediate correction. I cannot cook at all. That is my wonderful husband, who is my co-owner. He's our head chef, but I get to do all the other fun stuff.
That's right.
Which nobody wants. Yeah. all the accounting and the taxes and the front of that. Yeah. But Aaron is actually at work right now cooking. So, yes, please.
So you're the queen of the business, not necessarily the queen of the stove.
Absolutely right. Okay. Yes. No one would come back if I were in charge of the stove. I am confident of that.
I'm sure you've picked up a thing or two after seeing him all these years.
I mean, we'll say yes for posterity's sake. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I've enjoyed the food. Again, the menu there to me is very eclectic and classic at the same time. It's got just the right amount of everything for somebody to find something they can love.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, if you're looking for some classic diner food, a little twist and turn here and there, you want something made from scratch, that's our vibe for sure. So hopefully if that's what you're interested in, you can come in and enjoy yourself.
Well, before we dive into the restaurant and the features, Mel, tell us, our audience, a little bit about where you were born and where you grew up, went to school. Perhaps take us to the graduation day and maybe your first job after graduation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am from Illinois. I was born in Springfield, Illinois, which is the capital of Illinois, but my family didn't stay there very long. We moved around quite a bit in central and southern Illinois when I was a little kid. And then we relocated, how about that, up to the Chicago suburbs when I was about 6 years old. And I grew up in a suburb of Chicago called Crystal Lake. Wow. So it's far northwest. It's about 15 minutes from the Wisconsin border. So it's one of those places where you tell everyone when you're in college that you're just from Chicago, because no one will ever know. And I went to school there and actually started working. My first job that had a W-2 was at the Outback Steakhouse in Crystal Lake, Illinois. I started as a host and then eventually moved my way up to a server, and I did that job from the time I was 16. I did it all the way through college, but I would, of course, come out to school and then go home and work over breaks and everything like that. So turns out there was some foreshadowing in the early days of the earliest days of my career about where I would eventually come back around. Yeah.
And do you know what's in the secret of that blooming onion thing?
I have seen them make so many blooming onions. Yes, I have. I will tell you that one of the things that people don't know is that it takes 2 days to make those. Wow. Yeah. One day you just spend letting it, the onion open up in ice water and soak, and then you have to let it dry out, and then you have to bread it. It's a whole thing.
I was just going to say temperature has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
So yes, I do actually know a few of the secrets, but as far as making one myself, again, I would mostly just start a fire. That would be it.
And talking about temperature, so growing up there, you shoveled a lot of snow to get access to the street and
so I'm the oldest of four sisters, and the great news is my family believed in equal opportunity from an early age, and so yes, we were always involved in everything, whether it was pulling weeds in the summer and the spring, raking in the fall, or shoveling snow. I don't think we got a snowblower until I was in high school. And my family was also big proponents of, if you are living next to someone who is elderly or maybe someone who is a single parent, you're going to help them out. So there would be some nights where we would be out there, and my young brain thought we were shoveling the neighborhood. It was probably one neighbor's house, but I was like, oh my God, Dad, why do we have to be these do-gooder people? But again, turns out it was good foreshadowing for showing up and being a do-gooder in general, hopefully. So yeah.
That's very good. Well, thank you for sharing that early chapter of your life, but now we want to hear about how you got to where you are now. So tell us about the professional journey. After Outback, what were the steps that took you all the way here where you are today?
So there were many, and they were varied. And to be candid, they did not really look like a conventional path to hospitality and specifically restaurants. Actually, when we opened Winnie and Ethel's, I told the staff often. The last time I worked in a restaurant was at Outback Steakhouse when I was 21 years old, because I used that as a great way to get, to make a living while I was in school. I actually went to UNLV for undergrad. And despite having the best hospitality program on earth, I decided I wanted to go into a totally different degree program. I studied French and economics because I really wanted to learn French and I wanted to live in France. And so, and someone gave me what I thought was some great advice, which is you're going to spend a lot of time in school working as a full-time student. Make sure that you are studying something that you really love and things will kind of fall into place. And so that's what I did. So I got out of school, or I was getting ready to graduate, and if so facto, I got connected with some people that my parents knew. My mom and this gal were principal and assistant principal of school. Her daughter was working in Chicago, which again is where I grew up more or less. And I had a couple of other networking interviews and things like that. And I ended up taking a job at Ernst & Young, which is now EY. Yeah. Not in accounting. Obviously, I didn't know anything about accounting, but I would schedule the auditing team. So if you had to send like a big team into, let's say, like Caesars Entertainment, I would help the partners put together the audit team and how long do they need to be scheduled and what do they need. And through that particular job, I started to realize that I really liked what I thought was just doing onboarding, but it was organizational development and it was adult learning and training. And so I started back working on a master's degree at that time, and I got recruited over by one of my former supervisors into association management. And I started planning conferences and I started doing educational planning for meetings all over the world. And it turns out that French degree came in handy. Wow. They one of my former employers wanted to open up a European office in Belgium, and they wanted someone who spoke French, and I was the only one. And so I got to go move over to Europe for a while and help open that office. And from there, my career kind of continued to be a series of different associations where I was doing a variety of conference and event planning, educational planning, things like that. So all that organizational development type of stuff. And then in 2019, I actually got let go from a job, which was nothing I had planned. But a friend of mine who, I love her so much, said it in a way only a friend can say, looked at me and she said, and I'm gonna give away the whole thing right now. She's like, look, you're 36. You're single, you don't have any kids, you don't have anybody to take care of but yourself, and you're living at your parents' house right now. You've always talked about wanting to go into business for yourself. This is the time to do it. And it was like, oh God, I can't really argue with that. It was, it was that blunt honesty that you hear sometimes and you're just like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. And so then I started doing the event planning and the conference planning on my own. So I started having clients and doing, a bunch of stuff all over the place, which was great. And also during that time, I ran into my husband. He was a chef at a restaurant here in town called Esther's Kitchen. He was a sous chef.
Yeah, downtown. Wow.
Yeah, and I saw him for a long time. I thought he was really cute, but I didn't want to go up and just be kind of like a weirdo. I waited 2.5 years to be a weirdo, wow. And then eventually I did. I asked him out, and that only matters in the context of work because he is a chef, and so after we'd been dating for a while, we saw a press release about the Great Las Vegas Coffee Shop giveaway. And I thought, hey, I know about events, I know about planning, I know about design. Obviously, you know a ton about food. We really like each other. Wow. We had just gotten engaged, and so we thought, well, let's throw our hat in the ring and see. And turns out that was a good idea because here we are, several years later, and the restaurant's been open now 2.5 years, and we're still plugging away at it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's your friend's name that gave you the challenge?
Her name is Christina.
So look at that camera and give her a shout out right there.
Thank you very much. You are a doll face. She was. Sometimes you just got to hear it, straight and direct. And I'm so glad that she said that to me because
thank God we have friends.
Yeah, it was. I was sitting there kind of woe is meing, and it turns out with just a slightly different perspective, someone could say, "Seems like this might actually be a great opportunity."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and that's how I met you. And if anybody hasn't gone to Winnie and Ethel's downtown diner, please go because the food is amazing. Yeah, also the service is amazing.
Thank you.
As I sat down, I was looking at Yelp, saying, okay, what should I order? And the first comment said, I got this great service from this beautiful tall girl, and then she came and waited on me when I mentioned. So please go to Winnie and Ethel's Downtown Diner. You won't be disappointed. Tell us or tell our audience a little bit about what can they expect there if they haven't been there. How would you describe the vision, the philosophy of the restaurant, and the menu? How would you describe the food?
Yeah, well, as far as the food goes, it's scratch-made kitchen, American-focused. Of course, it's diner style, so you're going to see a lot of the classic stuff that you would expect at a diner. We do have some little twists and turns here and there, so not everything is just straight off the diner playbook. But we really put a heavy emphasis, and by we, I mean Aaron, my husband, on making sure that we're using very good ingredients and we're taking time to make the food from scratch. So that's kind of the big kicker for us. There's no like open a tin and pour gravy. That stuff's all made from scratch. As far as the restaurant's overall aesthetic and the kind of vibe, if you want to call it that, it's named after our grandmas, his grandma Winnie and my great grandma Ethel. Wow. And when we did the concept and when we thought about what we wanted to do, we actually live in the Hunt Ridge neighborhood. Well, technically South Ridge, but we've been in the neighborhood for quite a while. And so, I'm a big kind of experiential design head. So thinking about the history, about what it would have looked like, who would have been there, what was going on at the time. And that neighborhood came into existence in the 1940s, the first iteration of the neighborhood. So the theater that's there was opened in 1940.
The Hunt Ridge Theater.
The Hunt Ridge Theater. Yep. And then a lot of the initial neighborhoods, the smaller homes in the area started being built during World War II. And so what we thought about and why we chose the name and how the menu came to be, the aesthetics of the restaurant, all of that was designed to invoke the idea of the 1940s in Las Vegas, as opposed to what I think most of the world thinks about is vintage Vegas, which is the 1950s and 60s and the Rat Pack and all that stuff. So you'll see if you come in and visit us, the aesthetic is definitely a different color palette. There's no checkerboard floor. We're not doing the big, like the jukebox and the old convertible with the fins.
I like the TV in the corner, the big
the old school TV that was a must have from my husband. We got that one in Boulder City. But the whole idea was just to give people the vintage experience that would have been of the period where that neighborhood first started to come into existence. And we try to do our best to emphasize that with the service as well, making sure it's just very friendly. It's very, it's designed to be like a good old-fashioned neighborhood diner. And if we get other people who come in and join us, because of course we have lots of guests from wherever they come from in the world, we want them to have that feeling too, not just a kind of run-of-the-mill, like, hey, I could get this anywhere.
No, you guys hit the nail on the head there. That was my experience, and obviously those are the reviewers that went before me. Let's get back to the Great Las Vegas Coffee Shop giveaway.
Sure.
I know that gave you your start. What do you remember most about that experience? Because I know there was a great award at the end there that gives you, the resources you need to do all this stuff. What was the part you enjoyed the most about that process of the giveaway contest?
Well, I think, looking back at it now, I think what I really was shocked by is how much we were able to pull together in the short period of time that we had. So we found out that we were in the round of finalists in, I want to say it was in early March, and we only had about 8 weeks from start to finish to complete the various parts of the competition, which were public-facing pop-up events and then a private judges' dinner. But Aaron and I decided that we wanted to make sure, especially as the only people who were finalists that didn't currently operate a restaurant anywhere in the city and never had, that we, to use like a cheesy sports metaphor, that we left it all out on the field, right?
Yeah.
So we decided, hey, if we're not chosen, we don't want it to be because we didn't invest in marketing, we didn't invest in PR, we didn't invest in making sure that we had really good, branding to the extent that we could do it. And so to see his background come together and putting the menu together, making sure that everything was, we still have, I think 4 of the 5 items that were on the initial competition menu are still on the menu today. And then also getting a team of chefs together to do that work. I mean, no small feat when you haven't cooked a menu, when you don't know, what is or isn't going to work in a kitchen space that you're using. So to see him do that, and then to see all that, almost 20 years at that point of event planning and design and experience design on my end come together to put the marketing in place, put the, I remember one of the coolest things we did was we had 6 very high, kind of high visibility food influencers come to our house and eat at our dining room table, and we cooked for them, and because we didn't have a restaurant. So, but we wanted people to know about us, and we wanted people to know to come to the contest. So we pitched the idea, and we had these 6 people come in, and and they were like, we never do anything like this, right? And it's like, yeah, well, you got to kind of work with what you got. So that scrappiness, I guess, but built on the back of long careers doing it. I remember when we got to the end of the final night, the judges' dinner, and we were sitting out on our patio. I was smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
He was smoking a cigar. It was a beautiful night. And we both just sat there and we were like, holy cow, we killed that. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. We don't know if we're going to be the people that are selected, because there's a lot of factors that go into that decision. But the team just knocked it out of the park, and both of us just sat there and felt so great, and
you truly felt that you had left it all
on the field, baby,
awesome.
all on the field. That's right. So if the Raiders are looking for somebody else, I can help you, because I know what that feels like. No, I would be a terrible football player, but yeah. So just really realizing at that point that whatever the outcome was, we really had done everything to the best of our ability and felt really confident about the performance of the team. That was a really special feeling. I won't say more than winning, because winning was amazing, but feeling not nervous or doubtful at that point that we had somehow made mistakes or, didn't prepare adequately. I think that was a really cool feeling.
Thanks for sharing that with us. That's awesome. So, Mel, now when we met, little did I know that you already not just knew of us, but you were actually working with our team. And so when you first opened the diner, obviously you share with me some of the operational challenges that come up, of which, of course, staffing is just one of them.
Yep.
But that's where we were able to help. So, can you tell us how, as a new small business owner, how the Employee MV Career Hub was able to help you?
Yes. It has been a tremendous help. Like you said, we've had situations where, so anyone who works in hospitality knows this, and I say that because I did not know this when we started. You will have instances where you need staffing pretty much on the same day or the next day. And that was not an experience I had from my previous, industry work in a different vertical. So we would, say, hey, we need these people, and we would put these things up, and we would have people coming in the next day, and we could get them hired and get them started. And then beyond that, what was great is that we've also had really responsive team members who have gone ahead and made sure if we hire someone, all that paperwork gets pushed through very quickly, because for us, like I said, there are times where our turnaround is they need to start in 24 to 48 hours. Yeah. And, if it were great, we've got you a pipeline of folks, but it's going to take us 10 days to process whatever you need to kind of be able to take advantage of some of the financial support, that wouldn't work for us. And so that's definitely been beneficial. And then I cannot say enough about just how much support we've gotten in the form of on-the-job training, incumbent worker training. I know all these terms now.
I know, look at you.
Because I've taken so much advantage
our
of
menu.
it. Yes. And we've had some times as well where we've even been able to take advantage of things to help financially incentivize staff to retain them. And these were things I never knew existed prior to opening the restaurant. But it's benefited us tremendously. I mean, we have 3 staff right now who are getting, it's called a Serve Safe Manager certification. Mm-hmm. They're doing that with the help of Workforce Connections. We just talked to our representative at the Vegas Chamber, and I think that's a really cool service that you guys have embedded over there. I've just talked to him on Friday. We're going to be doing some training to allow us to upskill some people. And we've already done that several times. We have the cool stories, of course, are like we have a young man who started with us as a dishwasher, and he's now a lead line cook, and in our business, like that is jumping about 6 levels. And his brother works with us because he's been able, and his brother's now taken advantage of training, right? And so we told his mom, if she wants her other 2 sons to work with us, we'll just take all the kids.
That's awesome.
We'll just take the whole family. We'll just have them all here.
At the Vegas Chamber, is it Jason, Carlos, or Jeremy that you're working with?
Jason Harris.
Jason, okay, very good.
Yep.
And I think, what you just said is so fundamental that I think businesses need to be more cognizant of is how do I remain an employer of choice? Because there's so much competition. And so, again, when I saw your staff happy to work there, giving the clients the customer service you guys have set forth, that's not easy. And so you could tell that you have a high performing team. Another example is that they want to bring their family there. And so what kind of strategies do you implement to make sure that your team loves working there so much that they even are willing to bring their families there?
Well, I would love to drop the most profound knowledge ever on this podcast and be catapulted to organizational development superstardom. But I think a lot of it is nuts and bolts stuff that it really comes down to taking what I believe to be kind of general common sense and then making it the actual active practice. So a big thing for Aaron and I is making sure that there's fairness and transparency with our team. And what that means to us is, simple stuff. You work, you get paid, right? You get paid for the hours. I hate to say it, but I've heard some interesting and I would say like terrifying stories about places where, restaurants will say like, well, you're not done with this, clock out, but you have to finish. And I'm like, number one, that's illegal. But number two, who wants to do that? That's not a great environment, And so making sure that we're fair and transparent about what people's benefits are. I feel really strongly, and I know Aaron does as well, that if people choose to spend their careers with us or a portion of their careers, that we have a responsibility to help prepare them to be great at what they're doing, regardless of whether they stay with us in perpetuity or they ultimately move on somewhere else. And so like with Workforce Connections, especially being a new business, having that offset for financial assistance to train people and to upskill them has been foundational for us in keeping people and saying, you know what, this is not just a job, especially in a restaurant. It's easy to say, I'm going to show up and who cares? And in this city, there's a lot of choices, but to say this is a career and you can learn things here and you can make a good living. And our job is to help continue to make sure that you can make a really solid living and you can feel like there's growth in your job and there's clarity about your role, what we're doing as a team, and how you benefit from us providing great service. So I don't think there's anything that's a revelation in there, but I do think it's a continuous choice day in and day out to say, this is what matters to us. And, it may not always drop straight to the bottom line, but that's not the top priority. The top priority is being a place where we like to work, which means other people like to work here, right. And they feel like there's a path for them, and they feel like there's not a sense of dread when they know they have to come in the next day. That's the worst feeling, man. Right. That's the worst feeling. And, I don't care how much money you make, it's going to show up in your work. And at some point you're just going to be like, I can't do this anymore. Who wants to do that? I don't want to be an employer whose employees feel like that. That's thumbs down on that one. 1 star, as the industry reviews would say. I hear a lot of intentionality and purposefulness of building, like you said, a place where people want to go work every day. And you've articulated our mission with everything you said really well. Our mission statement is connecting employers to a ready workforce. And you've kind of described that, told that story. Here, we're in this beautiful new campus here downtown. Workforce Connections is very blessed, and we're grateful that the mayor and the members of the city council invited us to be here. We're going to take the tour with you after recording the podcast and show you the space. But that was kind of what drove our design concept here for this space. Because we also need to be an employer of choice. If we want to keep the staff that we have and retain good staff, we have to be a place where people love to come to work. And so I love that you guys do that. Now that, we've heard your story, the contest, you've obviously are a living part of this revitalizing downtown effort, with Dina Babsky and the team that goes out there is doing all this great thing, more parking, Arts District. What kind of, from your perspective, what kind of things are
important to you as a small business owner? What kind of efforts need to continue to happen to make this revitalization effort more successful as the years go by?
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to announce my 2028 campaign. No, I'm just kidding. But that is a cool question because I think again, I can only speak for myself, and at the risk of sounding like I'm going on a 2028 campaign, which I am not. One of the things that we've talked about, because I have had the chance to meet with, our councilwoman, Olivia Diaz. We have people at the state level, our state representative and state senators who are awesome folks that I've been able to sit down with. And then, we've had some people like, I tried not to accost Mayor-elect Berkeley when she came in for lunch one day, but I was like, this is cool. She's sitting here having a chef salad. I can at least say hi to her, you know? So we've had these people come in and it's easy to say, well, it has to be this and it has to be that and it has to be this. And I think we're a living example right now of the fact that there's some major infrastructure work going on the two major arteries that are the hard corners of our shopping center, Charleston and Maryland. They're long-term projects. They've been ongoing for a while now. And it would be easy for me to say, this is nonsense. This is killing our business. And I'm not saying that there aren't real challenges with that. There are absolutely real challenges. I feel like our job is to work with the people in these other positions to say, how do we, number one, we know this is important. If there's not infrastructure, and if it's not constantly being revitalized, then eventually it doesn't matter what else you do superficially. Right. The area is it's gonna literally fall apart, or it's or you're gonna have the problems that are the silent ones that kill businesses, which are like, we can't get good internet, or the streets are really in rough shape, and so nobody wants to come down here. Sewer smell. There's not enough updated lighting, so people don't feel like there's it's safe or whatever, right? Like all those things that you don't think about until you realize that's what's going on. But so we understand that's a real need. And then, number two is being proactive and advocating. But this is where I feel like I'm on a campaign where it's like, I have to advocate, I believe, in a way that makes me an active participant in the solution. So, we called up the city and I reached out and I said, hey, we believe in this. We know this needs to happen. And also there is an impact on businesses. What type of things are available? How can we get involved? How can we advocate for ourselves and take advantage of those resources? And I recognize that as small business owners, that's a tough thing to do because running a business is a huge day-to-day undertaking. I don't want to make light of the fact that, Aaron and I are a team. We're a couple years in. I don't think in the first 6 months I would have been like, let me take 20 minutes and But I do think that as a business owner, I have a responsibility to at least advocate with whether it's the landlord or the city or my neighbors and say, how do I contribute to the solutions of bringing more people in, of, making sure that my employees know that we're aware that we're working on it so they're not feeling that stress and tension. If it gets to a point where we need to advocate in a stronger, louder voice, sure, absolutely. But doing it with a lot of respect and candor rather than, I can't believe this is happening. Why is this going on? Because I don't believe anyone's sitting anywhere going, you know what? I'd really like to make this a terrible couple of months for these people. I don't think that's going on. So, I think continuing to work with the community, I love that the city spends as much time as it does being active on social media, making people aware of what's going on. I do not profess to know anything about how tax structures work, but clearly there's an investment that's happening, and not just a cosmetic investment. And I think that's invaluable in any area of any city to giving people what they need in order to make it somewhere they want to be. If you don't have parking, if you don't have streets that are maintained, if you don't have aesthetically pleasing investment in art or sculpture or garden or whatever, eventually people are going to opt to go to the places that do. So that's my little soapbox, and I won't get down off of it. But no, I love downtown. I love the area. I love the history, and I really enjoy that people are taking more of an interest in the roots of the city from a consumer standpoint, and also from the standpoint of investment in maintaining that part of the history of Las Vegas. I think that's wonderful.
Me too. And I have 8 wonderful bosses. They're all local elected officials, and one of them happens to be Ward 3 Councilwoman Olivia Diaz. She's one of my bosses, and so I know now where I'm going to take her to lunch next time. Because your
She's a
restaurant.
big pancake head.
Okay.
She loves our pancakes. So yeah, you will not be. You
So
will
Olivia, we're going to Winnie's and Ethel's.
That's right. That's
Very
exactly
good.
right. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the business, and and I know it's a consuming life. When I had lunch there last time, you told me about the hours are tough. I remember you were going, like, for the first time you were going to take time off. You're telling me that story. So let's talk a little bit about that, your personal life. When you're not you and your husband pouring yourselves into the business, how do you recharge your batteries? Because, again, you have to be present for your team. You have to be present for your family, your friends. How do you refill your cup, recharge yourself so that you can keep going? What are the things that really bring you joy, hobbies, activities that you and your husband enjoy?
Yeah. So, my husband and I enjoy some things together, but we also love to be
That's
apart.
healthy.
Yeah,
That's
we love to love each other from a distance sometimes. And I say that in jest, but I think we both are very firm believers in the idea that you do need to have some time to recharge on your own. As much as you might love your partner, you've got to have some time alone. So for me, traveling, I love, whether it's a shorter trip or, I get to get on a plane and go somewhere, or when we were in the earliest days and it was just a grueling pace, my travel would be to get in the car and go up Charleston and go to downtown Summerlin and get a coffee.
Staycation.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to wave at downtown Summerlin and turn around and drive back, but I had 45 minutes to listen to a podcast and, have a cup of coffee and just kind of be in chill mode for 45 minutes. So I find that gives me a lot of peace, and it allows me to mentally disconnect, which is, I don't know if any other business owners can relate to this, but my brain doesn't turn off very easily. And in the early days, it definitely did not turn off. It was just constantly looking at what do we need to do and fix and whatever. So that's a really helpful place for me. We also made the masochistic decision about 8 months before we opened the restaurant to buy a new house, but that was old and it had a single owner, and God love that woman. She didn't touch anything in that house since it was built in 1953, I think. So I love that kind of stuff. And we took it down to the studs, and then we got it to a place where we could live in it. We opened the restaurant. We were very, very strapped for cash. And so we would do little projects here and there. And it's still ongoing 2.5 years later. I was putting baseboard trim in yesterday in the bathroom. But my brain also turns off when I do that. So, it gives me some, I can move my body around. I can, have to think and pay attention. And I can't sit there and turn over and over the same challenges that I might be thinking about. So those two for me are huge. I also made a point of just, even when I really felt tired of making physical phone calls, like old school phone calls, actually, to people, friends and family, even if it was just 5 or 10 minutes, mostly because I find in my head, it's easy for me to get focused on myself and then to kind of start to do this like downward spiral of, oh God, this isn't working, or this hasn't happened yet, or oh no, whatever, and even 5 minutes talking to somebody else, number one, it would just take that burden away if it was really that tough. And number two, a lot of times it would give me just like the tiniest perspective shift to be like, you know what? It's not as desperate as I think it is that our waffle maker broke, it's okay that the coffee delivery was an hour late. Everyone's going to be fine. It's okay. So those things have been big for me. Aaron's a big snowboarder, so he tries to get out even up to Lee Canyon, whenever he can. We do love to get outside and hike when we can, and sometimes, if I'm being totally honest, we love to get Taco Bell and watch Netflix, which is maybe considered less worthwhile relaxation, but
it works.
Man, there's just something about a crunchy shell taco, and a cheesy show on Netflix that can make you just go, okay, it's really not that big.
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chillin'. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Cool. I think that, I think about you when you were explaining that 18, 19-year-old at Outback. And if there is a listener now who was young, 18, and said, I want to be an entrepreneur, own my own business. And you've just explained how complex that is. It can seem easy from afar, but what advice would you give a young person who's thinking, I want to be an entrepreneur, maybe own a restaurant, maybe own a business? Now that you've lived the journey, is there some good advice that you could pass on?
Yeah, I mean,
don't do it?
No, you know what? I would say, I honestly would say the opposite. I would say absolutely go for it. You know, I think, I didn't know. So my parents were both public educators, and I didn't have exposure to the idea of working for oneself, right? So I grew up in a household, and even my extended family, a lot of people were in public education, which is a wonderful, amazing career. I cannot say enough about how hard those people work, and the selflessness of, I'm going to go in and educate other people's kids and try to make sure they can, grow into functioning humans. Like, that's incredible. The universe did not build me for that. So I didn't go that route, but I wasn't aware that entrepreneurship was a path. I had only ever seen people go to work for other people. And again, like, I did that very successfully for quite a while, and I would not be opposed to doing it again if the right thing made sense. And Aaron was like, yeah, go travel the world again, and I'll, run the business. That's great. So I would actually say, if you feel you have a strong urge to try something like that, whatever age you're at, because again, I was in my mid-30s, and I know that there are people who've done it much later than that. There is no reason not to try. There's no reason not to try. Workforce Connections, I think, is a great example, and there are others that I know are in the ecosystem here in Nevada that I've learned about, that are set up specifically to support people who are running and starting small businesses. And I've never once come across anything, whether it's the SBA, Workforce Connections, any of the other resources like Black Mountain Institute. None of them has said, oh, you're only 19. Oh, sorry, you have to be at least 42 and have, this series, whatever. That's never been the case. Everyone has been very accommodating and very supportive, and I think that, why not try? Why not? The worst thing that's going to happen is it doesn't work. One could say my first business didn't work, even though it was because I switched into running the restaurant. But the reality is that business doesn't exist anymore. And that doesn't mean that there was any failure there. It meant that I tried something and I moved in a different direction, And so I would say, if it's something that you feel like you want to do, and you want to give it a whirl, and you're willing to make the effort to be pretty clueless for a while and take direction and try things and have them not work, and then try some other things and have those work a little better, go for it, And if you're 35, 45, whatever, if that feels like something that you want to try, go for it. Because what we don't often think about is whether it's public education or, Target or the Hyatt or whatever, at some point, those people had to take a leap and say, we're going to try this thing. And yes, of course, there are people who are in positions from, family connections or upbringings where that maybe has a bit of an easier starting point than others, to be sure, often sometimes a lot easier. But all of those places they had a first day, they incorporated their business at some point. They got an EIN. So we just get into this idea that or at least I did, that they've always existed. And it's like, no, somebody looked around and said, hey, maybe we should educate kids on a public level federally. How do we do that, right? Like, somebody looked at that and started it. Somebody looked at, Harrah's Casino Group and was like, maybe I want to get people to give me money, right? And try to wager. So, everybody had their first day, and you might as well give it a shot. You just don't know where it could go. And it's a cool experience no matter what the outcome is.
That's great advice coming from someone who has done the journey. So as we come to the end of the episode, Mel, and I sit here thinking, wow, we could talk for a long time. We say one question for you. Tell us what's happening, what's coming up at Winnie and Ethel's, any new events, functions, new items on the menu. But before, also tell us the URL so we can put it on the screen for our viewers.
Absolutely. So our URL, simple and easy, winnieandethels.com. Not a high demand URL, as it turns out. And as far as what's coming up at the restaurant, so if people aren't familiar with our restaurant, we have a core menu that pretty much stays the same throughout the year, but about 4 times a year we change out a certain portion of our menu. So we just actually did a change change out about 2 weeks ago. And depending on when you're watching this, we are in February of 2026. So we usually do them up seasonally. So we'll have another change out happening towards the late spring, like late April timeframe. So always new things to come in and try, or just come back and get your favorite classics. And then one thing I'm really excited about finally is that we're going to start having outdoor dining. So we don't have a monster patio, but we do have a big sidewalk. And again, depending on when you're watching or listening to this, it might be 120, so you may not really be keen. But whenever the weather permits, we're going to have that outdoor dining, and that's just something I've always loved. I don't know why it feels like you're getting away with something if you're eating outside, but it does. But yeah, we have, we'll have our full menu out there, and then of course we have cocktails, beer, wine. We have great coffee from Mothership Roasters, which is an awesome roaster here. So so it's just kind of a great place to come and enjoy a really, really well put together meal, great service, a nice environment, and be able to get a little of that vintage Vegas experience that I think people, you don't always see it so much anymore. So you can come down and hang out with us anytime. We're open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we do, breakfast and lunch, the whole service. So
maybe when I come with Olivia, we'll do outside because the weather's nice right
Absolutely.
now.
Yes, right. Absolutely. That is, I'm excited to eat outside, and I'm there pretty frequently. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Mel, thank you for taking time out of your busy day and your business to come spend this time with us. Hopefully, it will also give other small business owners a window into how they can, work with us, and hopefully we can help them during this entrepreneurship journey as well. Build their staff, build their pipeline, as you said, of talent. So, hope to see you again soon at the restaurant.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We want to thank the team behind the scenes that helped make this happen. And we hope to see you at a future episode. Until then, stay safe. Well, Mel, thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called the Hot Seat. Are you ready?
Oh, my God. Born ready.
All
Born
right.
ready.
The first segment is called Your Favorites. I'm going to give you a category, and you're going to give me your answer in that category, and we're going to go rapid fire one after another. So let's start with an easy one. Tell me your favorite food.
Pizza.
Favorite beverage with dinner.
Diet Coke.
Favorite dessert after dinner.
Every single one.
Favorite way to start your day.
Sleeping in.
That's a good one. Favorite way to unwind after a long day.
Ooh, probably Netflix. Oh, yeah.
I love it. Favorite hobby or weekend activity.
Traveling.
Favorite vacation spot.
Oh man, that's tough.
You can give us a couple.
I was going to say, I really loved Marrakesh. I love Rome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mexico City, super cool. Basically any big city on earth, I will go and enjoy myself. Yeah.
Very good. Favorite holiday.
Ooh, okay. It's like the 2 to 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas because it's so festive. So I love that period.
Favorite car you've owned.
Oh my God. You know what? I love my current car. I have a Tesla. I know. But I love it. It drives me places.
Which model?
I don't even know the sedan.
Oh, okay. The yes.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Favorite college sports team.
I should say UNLV because I graduated from there, but I actually love the UNC Tar Heels.
Oh, wow. Very good. Favorite professional sports team.
Oh, Green Bay Packers.
Favorite Vegas professional sports team.
The Aces, baby. 3
times. Guess who we had this morning here before you? Nikki Fargas, the president of the Aces.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
That's a great shout out.
Nikki, woohoo.
So you made it through the first segment, and the second one is called Tough Choices. It gets a little more difficult. I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you hopefully can pick one. Are you ready?
Okay.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
One day retire on a ranch or here in the big city?
Oh my God. If I'm going to stay married, it might be a ranch. Okay. It might be a ranch.
If you had a day out by yourself, would you rather spend it by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Hiking in the mountains.
It starts to get tougher here. Having more money or having more time?
Well, as someone who has had little of either, right now I have time and it is very nice. I haven't had time like this in a while. So time is awesome. Yeah, for sure.
If you were a superhero, would you rather have the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Oh, I hate the ocean, so I'm going to go fly. Definitely fly.
The ability to speak with animals or speak any foreign language?
Oh, that's like a terrible one. Because I want those both. Can I trade in flying and take all the language, the animals, and be a polyglot?
Very
okay,
good.
yeah,
Very good trade. This is the final stretch, so it gets really tough. Truth or kindness?
Okay, I would say that is tough. I'd say truth, because you can speak truth with respect. At least I believe that.
Very good. Actions or words?
Actions, always.
Justice or grace?
Justice.
Very good.
Yeah.
You made it through tough choices. The final segment is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you 90% of the sentence. You're going to finish it for me.
Okay.
Mal, if you could visit any place in the world, it would be?
Seoul, South Korea.
The best part about living here in Southern Nevada is?
Everything in one place. City, nature, mountains, not mountains.
Yeah, all of it.
All of it. Technically also water, even though people don't think that. We have all of it. So yeah, you get the full experience, and the airport's 15 minutes from my house.
Yeah, and snow.
Yes, exactly.
Now, your favorite thing about owning Winnie and Ethel's is?
Working with my husband.
If you could travel back in time, you would travel to?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would probably travel. I would travel to the late 1970s so I could meet my parents as young people and see what kind of shenanigans they got up to.
Very nice. 3 words that describe you, Mal, are?
Direct, charismatic, good-natured.
I couldn't agree more. And doing the WC podcast here with us today was?
Delightful.
Well, thank you for staying over and doing the bonus segment with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.